Very excited to be here. It's my second track today and my last one for this FutureStack, so I can finally have drinks tonight. So legal's watching from that corner right there, so take a second to just pretend to read this slide. No, I'm just kidding. So this is our safe harbor slide. It lists some things, just legalities. Cool. So hi, I'm Karishma. Hope you guys are having an amazing FutureStack and hope you're not too sleepy from lunch. My name's Karishma and I am one of the product managers for New Relic Infrastructure. I think I've been around the longest. Yeah, I'm an infrastructure PM veteran at this point. So I have with me Alberto, who's flown down from Barcelona, and fortunately his jet lag hasn't kicked in yet.
Yeah, I was getting sleep just before jumping in, so so apologies for that. If I get at least a bit sleepy, you kick me a little bit.
That's fine. I'll shake you up.
Right, thank you. So yeah, I'm the director of product management at New Relic. I'm basically in charge of cloud integrations, so basically bringing data in from the cloud. And that sounds easy, it's not. But yeah, I'm based in Barcelona, which is an awesome place to be based. Close to the beach, close to the snow. It's awesome.
Cool.
And yeah, we're very glad to be here and to be presenting all the news that we have in behalf of our teams.
Awesome. So today's session is going to be all about infrastructure with a focus on container and cloud monitoring and integrations. In case you're not familiar with infrastructure, don't worry about it. We're going to touch upon the history of the product, the launch, and everything that's followed up since launch, so you don't miss anything. And hopefully by the end of this, if you're not already trialing infrastructure, you can go check it out. It's pretty quick and sweet to set up. So with that, I'll pass it over to Alberto.
Yeah, so I feel like that many times, right? So well, Aaron has been in the monitoring space for more than 20 years. So I've been only around for like, what, 10 years, more or less? So I just wanted to play a little game with you guys. So who in the room, please, can you raise your hand, is in the business of monitoring infrastructure, any type of infrastructure? Yeah, so most of you, right? Who's been doing that for more than 5 years? Who's been doing that for more than 10 years? I feel younger now. Who's using the same exact tools than 10 years ago? Raise your hands, please. Same tools? Yeah, you deserve a prize today. All right, so just to say, like, I remember when I started writing software, we were just stamping CDs for the releases. And then that's very curious if you think about it today. We were stamping like upgrades and bug fixes and selling that. We were selling bug fixes, oh my God. So we were delivering CDs to customers. So like fast forward 10 years, we started doing like quarterly deployments. Fast forward till now, and we're doing basically like thousands of deployments in production in New Relic every day. So it's quite crazy how the thing is moving. It's moving real fast. So that's just to say there's 3 key factors in modern infrastructure that you want to keep an eye on. So first of all is the dynamic nature of infrastructure, right? And dynamic in the broader sense of dynamic, meaning from one project to another or from one application to another, you might be using a completely different set of tools. So maybe the project that you had, or the application that you had running for 2 years back, it's using a completely different technology. You need to keep on monitoring that. And now you're maybe embracing the cloud, and everything is dynamic. Everything is managed by DAC instead of putting cool names to your host like Cassiopeia or Pollux or Castor. So everything's more dynamic, and you need to be adapted. You need to be ready to manage dynamic infrastructure, multi-region, multi-cloud, everywhere. The second point is change, right? So the big thing about modern infrastructure is that you need to be ready for change. Things are going to change, for sure. For good or for bad, but on any deployment, things change somehow. So you need to be able to monitor this change. And third thing is cost awareness and cost control is a key part of the modern infrastructure, as the nature of change, continuous change, and the nature of the dynamism of how fast we're moving has it can have negative impacts on the cost. So you may be tracking costs and other performance metrics, just like the CPU, and you might be aware of, and you want to make your teams aware of, how much they're spending. Avoid isolation, so you're not getting like the thing done 2 times by 2 different teams. So you want to offer these teams like a way of looking across the board, see the entire picture, and just try to control these costs. Just to know what we are doing at New Relic to control these 3 key aspects, I'm going to hand it over to Karishma, so she tells you guys.
Cool. Yeah, we definitely didn't plan for a clicker to be this awkward of an exchange. So let's review some of the product background that we have here at New Relic, specifically for infrastructure. So any Opsmatic users in the room? 1. You win a prize, Fran. We're giving out lots of prizes. Yeah. So back in November of 2015, New Relic acquired a company called Opsmatic, a startup based out of San Francisco that was focused on live state infrastructure monitoring. So they tracked change events, they tracked how the state of your infrastructure changed, which is now known as inventory. So we took this technology and we combined it with New Relic's existing platform. We wrote everything from the ground up, developed a whole new agent, which we launched in a private beta in August of 2016 at FutureStack New York, and it was back then known as Meatballs. If anyone wants to know why it was called Meatballs, find the marketing guy sitting right there. So what we didn't know back in August of 2016 when we launched this private beta was how much traction it would gain. What we realized is that New Relic has an existing large APM customer base, but people have been missing visibility into their infrastructure side of things, into the server monitoring side of things. And when we threw in inventory, live state tracking, when we threw in config change tracking, and we threw in all of the cool features, such as dynamic alerts, Amazon integrations, and things like that into the mix, we had over 600 deployed active beta customers. I'm not talking about people who had access. I'm talking about people who were actively using infrastructure on a daily basis. And this was prior to launch. So following that, inevitably, we launched New Relic Infrastructure in November of 2016 at FutureStack San Francisco, where we made it generally available. And by this time, we came to our senses and gave it a decent name, known as New Relic Infrastructure. So as you can tell, New Relic Infrastructure has now been in production for less than a year, and we're about to discuss all the exciting things that we've done in the last year following New Relic Infrastructure's launch. But before that, let's review how New Relic Infrastructure fits into New Relic's digital intelligence platform. So I previously mentioned APM, which is Application Performance Monitoring, which most of you refer to as New Relic. So New Relic APM gives you visibility into the application performance metric side of things. And then you have the whole customer experience side of things with browser, synthetics, and mobile. And all of this runs on New Relic's digital intelligence platform, where we have consolidated alerts, we have consolidated APIs, we have basically a good cross-product functionality. And introducing New Relic Infrastructure into the mix was basically the last missing piece of the puzzle. And of course, as you all know today, New Relic Infrastructure supports a multi-cloud strategy. So does New Relic's digital intelligence platform. And we have out-of-the-box support for some of your config management tools. Cool. So anyone here gets these references? Yeah? OK. They're not totally lost. All right. So I'm very happy to share that since launch back in last November, New Relic Infrastructure, the team has launched 50+ successful features. That's if you consider our integrations, our AWS integrations, which have gotten better, more broader, along with our new Azure integrations, on-host integrations, SDK, etc. So following launch, one of the first things we worked on, and I'll go into a little bit of details around this, was improving our alerting and introducing advanced alerting. So we understand that with any performance management tool, with any performance monitoring tool, your primary workflow is alerts. you're not just going to log into New Relic infrastructure because you want to see pretty graphs and charts. You're going to log in because you want to know what's going wrong, where the issue is, and pinpoint the problem that you received an alert for at 3 in the morning. So improving our alerting system and providing for some flexible alerting was one of the first things we integrated into the product post-launch. Soon after that, we started really thinking about, okay, so New Relic infrastructure now monitors your host, and it has support for all of these cool AWS services. What else? Obviously, a lot of our customers, not going to point to anyone specific, were requesting monitoring features and functionality for things that don't necessarily account for hosts. They're things that run on your host and or support your hosts. Things like Kafka, Cassandra, Nginx, MySQL. And that incepted on-host integration. So what's known on on-host integrations today in the product is basically what followed soon after advanced alerting. And in order to not have our customers blocked by any product timelines, we also launched an SDK that allows you to build custom integrations for any metrics and any events that you may want to plug into New Relic infrastructure. So containers. Who here is running containers in production? All right, significant bunch of you. So one of the biggest requirements that became pretty prominent early on in the release of the product's lifecycle was support for container OSs and better support for monitoring your containers. And that's when we worked on releasing our containerized agent. So you can now run New Relic infrastructure as a containerized agent on CoreOS or any of your container OSs. And I'll go into a few details later. And lastly, the big announcement of the day, Azure integrations. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Alberto to discuss that more.
Yeah. So first of all, let me step back for a second and introduce cloud integrations as a concept. So since November 16, we launched, I think it was around 10 cloud integrations, only AWS. It was just like to complement the product. But we quickly saw that there was a huge demand from customers around like gaining observability metrics on any cloud platform that they were using. So we thought about that. Yeah, we said, all right, let's set up a team and focus on cloud integrations. And right now, we've just announced Azure today. But we've been working on AWS for quite a long time already. We've got 25 plus integrations into AWS, and we'll keep on investing into AWS, into more and more, and adding more value on top of the cloud, which is the mission that we have. And sometimes we get the question of, all right, so I already use CloudWatch, so what's New Relic adding on top of CloudWatch, right? So there's many things, but on top of all, you might not be running CloudWatch forever, and that's something that you want to take into account. And we are bringing all the power of all your platform into a single pane of glass that can help you just not only evaluate CloudWatch per se, but also evaluate how your on-prem software, how your stuff that you have in other clouds is working, everything together, and how everything's put together. So that's the value that we're bringing to the product. So just on that, and earlier in the year, I think it was end of May, at FutureStack London, we just announced these integrations for AWS. So the hype was around billing and cost control, but there was like Route 53, container service, the Kinesis Firehose, Elasticsearch. So a lot of integrations that we thought of could be like powering up the viewability and visibility that our customers require to manage cloud services. But today we just announced that we're going into GA with a bunch more. So just a quarter after announcing those ones, we're releasing like 6 new integrations in GA. And we also have Elastic Beanstalk just to support those who are still using like traditional applications, just in private beta right now. So if anyone wants to join the private beta of Elastic Beanstalk, we're just welcoming any customer who wants to come in. So just to touch a little bit on each integration, I'm not going to talk about the cloud, the FutureStack London ones that we already announced. I'm going to do a quick demo afterwards for the billing one, so all the folks here see what we can do with the billing one. But in terms of moving to GA today, so we've just moved into GA ALB, so the application load balancer, which is helping our customers to just figure out, how the rules that they put to the load balance work, how many requests you're getting, how many errors you're getting from your application load balancer. We just put together an integration with API Gateway. So for those folks who are using API Gateway and want to just check cache performance and so on and so forth, they can just check it together with I think in API Gateway it's pretty important the inventory integration that allows you to see how the changes or getting a feed of events on the changes that you had on API Gateway, so you can just correlate the changes that you made in production into API Gateway together with how that affects the performance of your API, which is pretty cool. So for those folks, having high throughput requirements and using EFS, we put an integration together for EFS as well. So we see that across the board in like big data and media use cases where folks are using EFS. We just had another integration with Redshift, which is a fully managed SQL service from AWS. And the last two, that's really the inception of a new trend inside our AWS team, which is basically log management. So we created an integration for VPC flow logs and RDS enhanced monitoring. So for those who don't know, VPC flow logs is basically a bunch of logs that AWS generates every 5 seconds that gives you the source IP and port and the destination IP and port of the traffic that's rolling out into your VPC, as well as the public traffic that's coming. And they are telling you if it's rejected or accepted traffic. So what we've done with that is we just build a nice dashboard that allows you to see, what traffic is accepted and where is that coming from, and what traffic is rejected and where that's coming from. And again, we allow you, as in any integration on AWS, we allow you to face it by any concept, so by region, by any concept. So it's really, really helpful for you guys to see, how into the low level of the network, how the low level of the network is performing. It's really cool. And RDS enhanced monitoring, in that case, we're just getting the logs from AWS about how the DB instances on RDS are working. So you can gain insights into the processes that are running in those instances, the CPU in those instances, the memory in those instances. So it's really, really cool what you can get with RDS enhanced monitoring, that it's basically complementing in a very, very good way the visibility that we're getting from the traditional RDS integration. Wow. So that was for AWS. So as you see, we're trying to move at the very, very fast pace with AWS, but we're trying to move as well into a very, very fast pace with Azure today. So Azure has been interesting. So we've just provided 5 integrations right now. We just set up a team specifically on the Azure, and that team is really, as the team that we have in AWS, is really focused on building Azure integrations. So that's really the first batch that we've released. It's like the very basics that we consider that you'll need on Azure, specifically the VM integration. So the VM integration is very interesting because it takes, so right now the last version of the New Relic infrastructure agent just is aware that's living in an Azure environment. So it's just in the downstream pipeline of metrics, it's saying to New Relic backend, hey, I'm a VM from Azure. And if you have your Azure account integrated with New Relic, we'll just decorate all the metrics that are being reported by that New Relic infrastructure agent with all the metadata that we get from Azure. So VM size, region, resource set, so everything, scale sets that you might have. So everything that's coming on as a metadata for that VM, we're decorating all the data downstream. So in the end, you can just face it by all these concepts and control and monitor and alert by all these concepts. Then we put together integration with the Cosmos DB, the non-SQL database from Azure. distributed non-SQL. Azure Functions, which we think complements very well with serverless workflows together with Cosmos DB. And then really like supportive integrations like Service Bus, which is a messaging service, and neural networks, which is kind of the VPC-like thing in Azure. So yeah, really excited about that. Of course, you can always like slice and dice, as always, in any cloud integration that we have, all data that's coming from Azure. So all the data is coming in, and you can always alert on any of those concepts that we're bringing in. So just I'm going to hand it over to Karishma to talk a little bit more about what we're doing in advanced alerting.
Cool. So lots of exciting stuff happening on the integrations front with your cloud services. And of course, as Alberto will probably touch upon later, this isn't the end of our multi-cloud expansion strategy. However, what's some of the cool things we've done on the core host, core server monitoring side of things? So again, just want to reiterate that with infrastructure, one of the biggest value props you get is that it's not just spitting out server metrics like CPU memory load. It's also correlating these metrics with real-time change events. And a change event is literally any delta that occurs in the state of your infrastructure. So a package modification, a kernel setting change, a config change, a host coming up, going down, a service restarting, any delta. And of course, you also have inventory, which is what's installed where, what's running what version. So since we provide more than just basic metrics, we wanted our alerting to really support more than just metrics, basic metric alerting, basic threshold alerting. And that's where we introduced advanced alerting. So advanced alerting, which followed 4 months or 3 months after the launch of the infrastructure product, includes first, process running alerts. This is a feature that's completely new to New Relic, and it's available in the infrastructure product. And what it allows you to do is New Relic infrastructure monitors your processes out of the box, including your containers. And using this alert condition type, you can create an alert to be notified anytime a process stops running, starts running, restarts, less than a fixed number of processes, more than a fixed number of processes, or exactly a fixed number of processes are running. So I can actually create an alert condition based completely off tags and container labels to notify me if there are less than X containers running any one container image at any point in time on a fixed set of hosts. That's how flexible this is. In addition to that, we also have host not reporting. This is your generic notify me when my host goes down or my host stops reporting data to New Relic alert condition. And I just want to point out that all of our alerts at this point within New Relic infrastructure are completely tag driven. And if you want to know what that means, Alberto, do you know the name of any one of our hosts? Do you a specific name? Or if I ask you which host is hosting which application within New Relic, do you know that? Exactly. It's no idea. Insane. It's insane, especially when you're scaling at an enterprise level. It's almost impossible to keep track of which host is hosting which application. And that's where our tag-driven alerting functionality and tag-driven dashboards come into play. So the New Relic infrastructure agent integrated with EC2, Azure, as well as Docker automatically imports your tags, labels, and metadata. So you can create an alert condition to notify you if any of the hosts matching X, Y, and Z tags go offline or stop reporting data for more than 5 minutes. And examples of these tags are AZs, EC2 tag roles, instant types, also applications. So if you have the New Relic infrastructure agent running on any of your app servers that have the APM agent running on them, then by default you should see a value, a filter value called application name within infrastructure. So I can actually go in and create an alert condition to notify me if any of the hosts matching application name equals XYZ stop reporting data for more than 5 minutes. And this is completely dynamic, which means if you have any hosts which in the future come online that match these tags, they will automatically have the alert condition monitor them. And lastly, we know how much our users enjoy logging into the UI for every tiny thing. Not really. And that's where we strive to provide APIs and SDK for improved usability, for better integration with your existing workflows, your existing CI/CD tools, any AMIs you may have. If you're using Terraform to create alert conditions, you can use our alerts REST API within infrastructure to CRUD your alert conditions from there. Cool. Container support. So this is an exciting one. I touched upon this briefly in the roadmap slide previously. But with container support, what's exciting is that we recently launched our first ever containerized image agent version for New Relic infrastructure. So now you can run the New Relic infrastructure as a container image. And why would I want to do that, right? There are two primary use cases we strive to support with this. The first is if you're running, if you want to monitor any of your hosts or if you want to monitor a container OS environment like Core OS that lacks a traditional package manager, you can install the New Relic infrastructure agent, you can deploy it as a container and monitor your containers running in your Core OS environment. The second use case is, and this is interesting because I spoke to a customer outside who would like to monitor their point of sale systems, but they have a security restriction from installing third-party software on their point of sale systems. And because the containerized agent doesn't install itself on the OS level, you can use the containerized agent for New Relic infrastructure to monitor those systems. So if you have security restrictions, you can do that. In addition to that, of course, New Relic infrastructure by default, out of the box, monitors your containers that are deployed on your hosts without requiring to be installed inside the containers. So let's assume I have a host that's hosting 6 applications, 3 that are running on the OS level, 3 that are deployed across 100 containers running inside the host. New Relic infrastructure, the agent needs to only be installed on the OS level, and it will monitor your containers, along with your container image association, your container labels, everything out of the box. So you can actually view the distribution of your containers by images, by hosts, and do a bunch of cool stuff with that. Yeah.
Yeah, the cool thing.
And here's what's coming soon. So I'm going to steal the limelight from Alberto's coming soon slide for a bit. But on the container support side of things, we are actively researching and planning and implementing Kubernetes support and our first version of Kubernetes support this quarter. So if any of you have or would like to monitor your Kubernetes environment and have requirements, feedback, and or a wish list, please come and meet me by the infrastructure booth. I know Frank will be there. But please come and meet me by the infrastructure booth. I would love to dive deep into the specs and requirements for the Kubernetes support that you may want.
Yep.
Cool. So Alberto, do you want to demo some cool integration stuff for us?
Let's go. Yeah. Let's
switch over to the demo.
Yeah. Let's see how that looks like. If it allows me to. Here we go.
We're ready.
Cool, here we go. So first of all, let me drive you to where integrations is, because it's a bit hidden in the UI, but let's go. So this is where you land when you have an agent installed and you land into the compute page, network, storage, process, inventory, integrations, here we are. So if you click on integrations, you're going to be able to enroll any of the either Amazon accounts that you have. You can enroll multiple accounts per New Relic account. And right now, so available starting today, we have a public beta for Azure. So everyone's going to be able so any pro customer and any trial customer is going to be able to access into the Microsoft Azure integrations. Although PM's integration is included in the Essentials product. So just let's dig into any of those integrations. So let's just check out the functions dashboard that we put together. So those reference dashboards, there we go. So those reference dashboards are really like reference dashboards that we put together. So afterwards, you guys can pick this idea, copy the dashboard, and just customize the dashboards that we have. But basically, here in the Azure Functions integration, it's really about the count of the functions that you have. So the errors that you might be getting from the function. I think there's some errors that we forced the other day, but anyways. So the memory that you're using, the data in and out, execution, and again, like I don't have any operational event right now going on, but we can correlate changes in the functions or updating an image updating a function or something like that. Just see how that correlates together with performance. So getting back to integrations, let me just just showcase dashboards. Sorry. And no, virtual networks, no. Here we go, virtual machines. This is the one I want to show. So this is really showing up the type of data that we are bringing in together with the New Relic infrastructure agent. So it's the data that we are using to decorate the metrics that this agent is reporting, and as well as all the operational events that are happening in that host running the New Relic infrastructure agent. So it's really just to get an idea of, we'll know, how many standard A1s have, how many standard D1s have, in what regions we're running, and so on and so forth. All right, so let me just showcase real quick the AWS billing integration, which was kind of hype at FutureStack London, and I think it's really going to help our customers on just deep dive on where the money is flowing in AWS. So basically, the integration that we put together is bringing in data from both the service APIs, the billing service from AWS, and as well as the budgeting capabilities that AWS has. So the budgeting capabilities are really interesting in AWS because it allows you to create budgets with a limit in price against a certain concept. So let's say you don't want to spend in ECS more than X amount in a region. So you could create a budget for that. And the cool thing about budgets is that once we get the data in, and AWS has enough data, it kind of predicts where your cost is going with that budget. And it's letting you if you're going, well, we are letting you if you're going above the limit that you've put for that budget or not. So it really predicts the cost that you're going to get into the end of the billing period based on the consumption that you're having for that service. So if you think about that at scale, it will really help you to keep an eye on the different services that you're running, put limits against those services just to be aware if the cost is going to drift against the predictions that you had. That's pretty cool. Apart from that, as I said, so we're bringing the data in for the accounts themselves, and we can split and face it by the different services that you have. So that's the second part here that you can see. So these are accounts from AWS, and this is the cost associated to any account. So just using the magic of insights, I just put together some interactions here. So if I click on one of the accounts that is spiking in terms of cost, and it shouldn't, just click on it, and here we go. We're just breaking down the cost of that account into the different services. And I've just put together like 3 key aspects of it, like EC2 RDS cost and S3 cost, just to get an idea of, all right, so in that account, where the money is flowing. So it allows me to keep controls or put alerts against a specific account having a specific cost, maybe unpredicted, and just keep track of it, right? So again, I mentioned that before, but I think we need to control cost just as another performance metric. Put alerts against it and just make our teams aware of the cost we are generating. Just my point.
Cool.
All right.
Let's switch back to the slides.
Let's switch back to slides. Here we go.
Sweet. You're next.
Cool. Next slide. So Karishma just, no, don't build it. Just joking. Yeah, so Karishma just touched a little bit on the first point, which is where we're investing heavily, which is on containers and orchestration support. So we want to be much, much, much better on so we are good right now. We want to be like much, much better on supporting containers and orchestration services. So we just started working on Kubernetes, as Karishma said, and more orchestration services will come after this one. Next is cloud integration. So we touched on that. We mentioned AWS, the steady work that we have in AWS. We have a dedicated team for AWS. We just released Azure, and the steady work that we're going to have with Azure. So it's a continuous investment that we're going to do. And we have set up a team for Google Cloud Platform as well. So we've started already to build the first Google Cloud Platform integrations. And it's going to be an incremental investment. So right now we are doing AWS integration at a quite speed. Going to happen the same with Azure, and it's going to happen the same with Google Cloud Platform. So stay tuned. There's more to come here. Same for on-host, right? So we have released Apache today, Redis, and expect like more on-host integrations to come, like Kafka and so on. So our investment there as well. It's like we have a super awesome team in Barcelona who is like concentrated on building the best on-host integrations and the SDK as well, together with the San Francisco team. Yeah, and in case any of you are curious about our SDK to build custom on-host integrations that I referenced earlier, we have Ramon, who's standing in the back in the room, who's going to be leading a session tomorrow at 2:35 p.m. In Enterprise West on how infrastructure's integrations SDK now makes infrastructure monitoring limitless. Yep. Cool. Thanks for that, Karishma. Cool. And next is the broader OS support, right? So we know that most of your services are now running in the latest version of OS. So we thought that just getting one version before for Red Hat, getting a bit more versions from Windows and so on and so forth is going to help you guys like monitoring not only like the stuff that you have in the forefront of the technology, but also all the stuff that you have, like all the former stuff that you have. So we're going to invest in that as well. And last but not least, and actually it's one of the things that we consider more strategic, is working on providing better APIs and broader SDK support. So as an example, on the cloud front, we're working on an API that will allow you to control the polling frequency that we have with AWS. It's going to allow you to control and filter the data that you want to bring in from the different cloud providers. So if you just want to bring the tag production from a specific AWS account, you're going to be able to do that. As well as, if you don't want to fetch inventory, you just disable inventory, or you just, control the polling rate of the inventory. And as well as SDKs, right? So we have the New Relic Infrastructure SDK, and we're looking into expanding the number of SDKs that we have right now. So more to see. So stay tuned. We're really excited about what's coming for New Relic Infrastructure, and yeah. Next slide. This one you just introduced in the end. You just told me this slide. So I don't know what's that about. It's all to you. So a little bit about our customer adoption. So we launched infrastructure less than a year ago, and since then we've had over 3,000 customers subscribe and actively use infrastructure. And these aren't the extending POCs or trials. These are proactive subscribed customers. And some of those names you can see up there. We have some folks in the audience who are using it today. So very excited to know that New Relic Infrastructure is officially the fastest growing product at New Relic, in New Relic's history. So definitely recommend going and checking it out today. Which brings me to, how do you get started? What are you waiting for? It's a very quick installation. We have Chef, Puppet, and Ansible modules to help you to speed up your installation and adoption of New Relic Infrastructure. It's a 30-day free trial. All you need to do is head over to the Infrastructure tab and install the agent. So please do check it out, and disregard of whether you decide to proceed or not. We're always open to feedback, and we love hearing from our customers. So do stop by the booth and bother any of us with feedback. We really enjoy it. Yep. Thank you. Thank you very much.